We've all heard stories about the zone, about how it changes people. But there are things even the chattiest stalkers around the campfire stay silent about. Because not every shadow you see in the mist is your own. It happened more than 10 years ago. A squad of 5 experienced stalkers, bolt, helicopter, rock gear, and buggy, ventured deep into the zone. They went where no one had ever dared to go, into the brain scorcher area. That place was truly cursed. No stalker nor any other living being, if it was truly alive, approached it closer than 10 kilometers. Those brave enough to try crossing that barrier later spoke of terrifying visions. Dogs with feline shapes, wolves walking on 2 legs, boars the size of trucks. But the scariest part was the people, or rather, what they had become. Eyewitnesses spoke of wandering silhouettes of humans with formless faces and eyes as empty as the abyss. Of small dwarves in black cloaks who could lift a truck with telekinetic force. Of snorks, former biologists who had received an incredible dose of radiation and now moved on 4 limbs with gas masks instead of mouths. But the most terrifying of all were the bloodsuckers. Fast, invisible. They crept silently on 2 legs, attacking zone dwellers from behind, and in mere minutes drained all the blood from their bodies, to the last drop. But let's get back to our heroes. They headed toward the center not to hunt mutants or seek out new anomalies. Their goal was something far more important, something that could fundamentally change our understanding of the structure of the world. Their objective was the heart of the zone, a legendary artifact said to grant wishes, hidden in the very center of the no less legendary artifact, Klondike. No one had ever truly seen it, and many doubted its existence. But the lust for riches was stronger than the fear for one's own life. That's always how it goes. No surprise there. And most importantly, it never led to anything good. And so after planning all their actions and stocking up on supplies at the Yaniv station, the day X came. Early on Saturday morning when, as classic poet Shevchenko wrote, the 3rd roosters had not yet crowed and all was silent everywhere, the group set off. Before departing, they established radio contact with the station so they could call for help in case of trouble, or report the route to the Klondike if the mission succeeded. The stalkers remained in contact for the first 3 days. Everything was going smoothly, except that near the cement factory, the team ran into a pack of rabid dogs. But on the 4th day, silence. No coordinates, no signals, not even a distress call or any request for help. Only a constant dull noise on the frequency of their radio channel. A noise that sounded like the heartbeat of someone living their final minutes, knowing there's no other outcome. At first, several drones were sent to the area of their last transmission. The search lasted several days, all in vain. Then search parties were dispatched, but they also found nothing. Only the remnants of a camp near an old shelter, a few cans of non-stop, and a pack of cigarettes. But no personal belongings, no weapons, no bodies, no evidence. As if the squad had simply vanished. 11 years have passed since then. Most who knew the missing stalkers either died in the zone's embrace or left it to live out ordinary lives. Then suddenly a man appeared in the 100 Rads bar, tall, lean, in worn-out old model armor, with a cracked helmet hanging from his belt. His face was pale, like it was carved from wax, and his gaze was empty, yet deep, as if his eyes were black, bottomless pits. "What's your name, friend?" the bartender asked. "Oleg," he rasped. "Got a call sign?" the bartender asked again. "Yeah." "Buggy." And then the bar seemed to freeze. The stalkers exchanged glances. 3 of the old-timers became especially alert: Pilot, Screw, and Mamai. "And how long have you been in the zone?" asked Mamai, adjusting his thick gray mustache. "Long enough, Andrei. Or have you forgotten me?" Buggy replied. And then a wave of shock hit all the stalkers. No one knew Mamai's real name. No one but the old-timers. those who were among the first to come to the zone and who had, in fact, shaped its very image. Buggy sat down at the table silently, like a shadow. His body was here, but his soul, it seemed to have stayed back somewhere in the mists of Chernobyl's depths. Coming to their senses, Mamai and the other old-timers moved closer to Buggy and began to speak. "What happened to your group?" "We were following the route when suddenly a thick fog blocked our path. The compass started spinning like crazy. Phones and all other electronics stopped working. And then, out of the fog, silhouettes began to emerge." "What kind of silhouettes?" asked Mamai. "These kinds," Buggy replied. First, a T-34 tank rolled out at us. Behind it marched a platoon of Red Army soldiers, in uniforms straight out of the Second World War. Then, after some time, 30 or maybe 50 horses galloped past us. I don't remember exactly. But what I do remember clearly is that the riders looked like Cossacks. Then again, a herd of horses raced past us, but this time the riders were different. They were definitely not our people, not Slavs, more like Asians or Mongols. This went on for a while. I can't recall everything, but near the end, a loud roar sounded, as if a lion pride had been handed megaphones, and they all roared at once. "And what happened next?" "Next?" Buggy smiled. "Then a dinosaur charged at us." "A dinosaur?" the three of them asked in disbelief. "A dinosaur. Looked like a T-Rex, but it wasn't alive. It ran from nowhere to nowhere. We scattered in all directions. I never saw anyone from the group again." "And then?" Pilot continued the conversation. "Then I ran through the fog for hours until I lost consciousness. I woke up in the swamps under an old crooked oak. Then I remembered the route and came to Yaniv." "So what about the artifact? Did you find it?" asked Screw. "The artifact? We didn't find it. But it seems it found us." Buggy's face twisted into an unnatural smile. It felt like it wasn't him anymore. Something unknown had come in his form to the Yaniv station. "You're not Buggy!" Mamai shouted, to which he leaned in and whispered, "I know. And you know it too. But God forbid you tell anyone about this. You'll regret it." Mamai's blood ran cold. He stepped away silently, trying to compose himself. "I'm heading to the restroom," Buggy said, and walked away. A few minutes later, an explosion like a grenade went off in the restroom. The stalkers rushed to the room, and what they saw nearly made them sick. All the tiles, ceiling, and floor were intact, but covered in a red texture. On the floor lay a note with an inscription: "Remember what we talked about, and you won't have any problems." After that, no one saw Buggy again, but the feeling of his presence never left. A few weeks later, a group of young stalkers stumbled upon an old stash. They decided to bring it to Yaniv for the old-timers to examine. But what they saw made them feel ill. Among the few supplies and rounds, there was something else: a metal toy tank, figurines of horses with riders, and a plastic Tyrannosaurus, and along with them, several photographs. In the pictures, together and separately, were the 5 stalkers, the very same ones who had disappeared 11 years ago in search of the heart of the zone. But the most terrifying part, on the back of each photo was written, "Remember what we talked about and you won't have any problems."